who are going to be the breakout players. The coaches talked about some guys that I'm excited, man. I'm excited to hear that these guys are taking the next step. We'll discuss coming up next here on Locked On Sooners.
You are Locked On Sooners, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma Sooners. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Once again, thanks for making Locked On Sooners your first listen every single day. Shout out to all the everydayers out there. Tune in and subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Jay, the coaches also mentioned some possible breakout players, and the guy that really stuck out when I was looking at all the quotes and watching some of the footage, Dominic Williams. They're saying he's taken his game to the next level.
Yeah, it sounds like he's actually stepped up into an even bigger leadership role. Like he was a leader last year on defense, and players talked about him being very influential in their play and pushing everybody. But it sounds like he's gotten bigger. BV and Bates talked about how he's transformed his body, that he's over 320. He's taking everything seriously, and he's really pushing the young players and stuff too. So you really look at it. Hey, that's the player that you need to step out. And they talked about not only him, but also on the defensive line. David Stone is set to have a massive breakout year. And we talked about that here a few weeks back when Stone hit the portal and came back. But he's one that we're expecting. He's from that class where him and Jayden Jackson should be running things on the defensive line. But the good thing is they still got veterans in front with Dominic Williams as well as Grayson Halton. So it's going to be a nice mixture of those four playing a ton this season right there in the interior. And I expect them to wreak havoc all season long.
I think what was underrated about Dominic Williams coming last year, and we may not have talked about it enough, is that he came after spring ball. So he was only there for summer workouts and for fall camp. And we know that Brent Venables' defense is complicated. We know that the strength and conditioning that's expected at Oklahoma is different than what's expected everywhere else. I'm not sitting here saying that he wasn't ready to play, that he didn't know what he was doing, but how much of a deeper understanding of the scheme will he have this year? How much better will his body be prepared for the rigors of SEC play this year than what it was last year? Because he's had a full offseason now with Schmitty and the strength and conditioning staff. He's had a full offseason with Brent Venables and the defensive staff and Todd Bates, and getting a better understanding of his role to where now he can go play a lot more confidently, a lot more free, because he understands the scheme better. Experience matters in the scheme. When you don't have 2-3 years of experience and you're coming in and you're now like, oh, okay, I got to be a starter on this team. Okay. You just are trying to not get by, but like there's a deeper level of understanding. The more you play in it, the more you practice in it, the more you do film study in it. And so, man, I wouldn't be surprised to see him go have like an all-conference type season this year, because remember, he was a big-time producer at TCU, had big-time production, sacks, tackles for losses, pressures. He was that kind of guy. Hopefully he can be that this year.
And we saw glimpses of it this year. He became a focal point for defenses, and that's what you want. You want a big interior dude that teams put all their attention to, and it allows everybody else to go off. And this year, the problem with this defensive line is, who you gonna key in on? You don't want to key in on Jayden Jackson. It's gonna leave Daminic open in them edges. You don't want to do just Dominic. You don't want to do just R. Mason Thomas. You don't want to do a combination of Marvin Jones Jr., Daniel Okoye, PJ Adebaware, and Taylor Wine. If anything, it'll be the players they don't know. But if you got a starting five of R. Mason Thomas with Marvin Jones Jr. and an interior with Dominic and Jayden Jackson, and then Stone and Grayson Halton right behind them, it's going to be tough to be able to key in on really one person, because all of them can do stuff. You've synced them with your eyes do it. So if that's the case, Oklahoma's going to, of course, have different schemes to make it even tougher on teams, but they're going to have to figure out how to get rid of the ball quickly. And that, to me, is where your linebacker play is really going to come in.
The coaches also mentioned a couple wide receivers have stood out to them so far this offseason. One of those was Zion Kearney, a guy that we've been talking about here on Locked On Sooners. Ben Arbuckle said Zion Kearney has big-time player written all over him.
Yep. We've been hyping him up. I've already been told by a few people, hey, man, calm down on the ZK hype. We want him to stay under the radar. I totally get it. I smell what the Rock is cooking. But at the same time, we can't be ridiculous and think that we're not overly hyped about him, which this is going to lead to a question. John, this will be our topic for Monday. I'm going to make note of it right now. Which coaches need to break out this year? One on offense, one on defense. Who's the coaches that need to have a big year? Because, you know, when you think about Zion Kearney, he was a recruit. He wasn't a transfer. So, of course, Emmett Jones has got to get some of that going for himself, right? He's got to be able to show that not only can he recruit good, he can develop good. Because, I mean, of course, we've seen him recruit some solid players, especially in the portal. Deion, Burks, hell, Andrew Anthony was really good when he got here. You saw Nick Anderson, Jayden Gibson all break out underneath him this first year. We need to do that again, and he's going to have to show it again. Even though he's shown it once, you got to keep showing it. It's always, what have you done for me lately, not what you did for me last year, 2 years ago. You got to show me today. So that's going to be critical. So we'll talk about that more in depth on Monday. But I like hearing that the coaches are singling out specific players for the fans to keep their eyes on. The other one they talked about was Sataunia. When Ben Arbuckle mentioned him, John, I know you had a massive smile on your face. That was gold to me.
Yeah, he said, if you need something done right, you look towards Isaiah Sataunia.
Boom.
That tells me that he's going to get a lot of snaps this year, and he's going to have an opportunity to make some big plays because he is a game-breaking type player, somebody who can take the top off the defense. He can win in the short area because he's just elusive. He's got good lateral agility, and he's quick. So he's going to be able to win out of the slot, but also he'll take some verticals out of the slot and win deep as well. So excited about Isaiah Sataunia. I think what's encouraging is they've got several guys that they're excited about. Deion Burks is somebody that they feel like made a lot of improvement this offseason, and that doesn't even include Giovanni Gibson, Jayden Gibson, guys we know have had big-time moments, either Giovanni Gibson in spring ball, Jayden Gibson back in the 2023 season. This wide receiver room is going to be better. It's just going to be better. Obviously, it's not going to take much for it to be better than what it was last year, but I think you're going to have a group that is going to be dangerous, and not just against the Temples or Kent States or Illinois States. You're going to have a group that's going to be dangerous against Michigan, against Auburn, against Texas, that they're going to create some big plays in the passing game. And that to me is the most exciting thing, is like, you might not get Marquise Brown level production down the field, but if you get one or two deep shots a game that you can complete, that's absolutely huge for this offense.
Sataunia is intriguing to me because when we talked about our wide receivers earlier this week, for me, I really want to see how they leverage him with Burks, because there's got to be packages where both of them on the field together. There's got to be. You've got to go out there and really put stress on defenses with their capabilities. And just hearing that Sataunia literally does everything right, like you put him on the field and he's running the routes right, he's getting everything done right, and you're like, okay, yeah, this makes sense as to why a lot of Arkansas fans were kind of a little upset whenever he bounced out. So sound like we got ourselves a good one. And I think in this situation, we should be able to see some very, very creative offenses out of Ben Arbuckle, especially when he has all those wide receivers lined up. That's what I'm ready to see.
Yeah, little bunch formations with Deion Burks and Isaiah Sataunia, and corners are going to have to try and cover those guys coming out of their breaks. That's just going to be nasty, absolutely nasty. So many nuggets that we didn't even get to in this one. What Jim Nagy had to say about non-conference play, that's going to be one that we have to at least keep in the back of our minds for next week, because his answer was fantastic. If you hadn't seen it, he said we should play Oklahoma State and Nebraska every year. Something to talk about maybe a little bit next week.
Yeah, we'll talk about that on Monday's episode. Putting a note for it now.
We'll save it. All right. That's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Sooners. Thanks so much for tuning in, being a part of the show. Subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. We're free and available on all podcast platforms and on YouTube, so hit that subscribe button and that notification bell to let you know when new episodes drop. Make sure you follow Jay at Unfair Sports. Go check out his channel, Unfair Sports, over on YouTube. You can follow me at John9Williams. You can read my work covering the Sooners over at SoonersWire.com. The show is at Locked On Sooners on all of your favorite social media platforms. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. But For Jay Smith, I'm John Williams. We'll talk to you next time. Boomer
Sooner.